We're gonna go into training for basketball off-court development, and we're gonna start right now. When I think about basketball, and one of the cool parts about being at the Olympics this past year in Paris and being close to LeBron James, seeing how big these basketball players are, watching Serbia almost beat the United States. The United States comes back and actually gaining a better and more firm understanding of the game was that one, I realized basketball players have to have insane cardio. Two, they have to be extraordinarily explosive. Three, they have to have really, really good agility. That trunk control comes into play at a very high degree. Four, they definitely have to have a strong upper body. So the big aspect around off-court development is how can we actually build this out? So we're gonna give you a specific template that you guys can use today. So the first thing that we need to do, I wanna go in, and if I have basketball players come here at Garage Strength, I want to assess them, okay? So if we look at a basketball player and we understand that, all right, when they start to come out, when they start to come in and train, we know the benchmarks of these players and we know where they're at, okay? We know that if you want to go D1, you have to be decently strong, you have to have a good vertical, you have to be able to move quickly, and you have to have good endurance. So when we set up that assessment week, the first thing that I want to do is, one, I want to see what's their vertical jump. So if we can see what their vertical jump looks like, all right, now we can understand how explosive they are. If we have somebody who comes in and they have a 21-inch vertical jump or a 24-inch vertical jump, we know they've got to get a little bit stronger. Two, I want to see what their power clean is. One of the big aspects around strength training is being able to recruit as effectively as possible. And if we can get a basketball player who is very long and very tall to increase their power clean, now all of a sudden they have better recruitment. And this is one of the big aspects that Al Vermeil used when he was coaching the Chicago Bulls through those 6 world championships. So we can test out that power clean. And then three, I want to look at their unilateral strength, okay? I don't want to have basketball players back squatting heavy all the time or front squatting heavy all the time. I want to do something that's a little bit easier with that range of motion. A lot of these players are going to be, on the men's side, 6'5 plus, on the women's side, 5'10, 6 feet plus. So we have to recognize that they're not going to have the absolute greatest mobility. We do want to improve their mobility. We want to make sure that if we're thinking through that off-court development, we increase and we assess their single leg squat. Now, the next step is recognizing that they are gonna have to have some type of upper body strength. So if we're doing some simple dumbbell work, we're doing some type of pull-ups, we're doing some type of presses, I think that's genuinely going to be enough for their upper body strength. I actually believe that one of the best ways to test their endurance would be either one, some type of like 2 1-mile intervals. Okay, so let's see if they can get out and run 2 miles back to back with about 5 minutes rest between those miles and then see what the mile time is. Or we can get them on an assault bike or on a rower and do something similar for 8 to 10 minutes, see what their pace, see what their cadence is to see how well and how healthy their heart is to improve their endurance over that long period of time. I think one of the biggest aspects around basketball is making sure that we can gradually increase their endurance while not having a negative impact on their strength and their explosiveness. If we're thinking about off-court development, that's like this key concept there. Now, the next thing, when we get into impulse work, so that's meaning they're going to be being as explosive as possible. Learn how to do a hip power snatch. This is going to help a basketball player in an overhead position. They're going to have better shoulder stability, better trunk stability, and this is going to improve their overall agility, but we need to test that, okay? So we can go through that. And then finally, I want to look at some specific speed aspects. I want to see what's their 20-yard shuttle. If we can improve their 20-yard shuttle, now we can see how agile they are. We can see where their strength is. We can see when they plant and decelerate, cut back, all of those different steps, how well they're going to be moving. So that's going to be the assessment week. Now, as we can see here, this is the assessment week for that off-court development. After we get the assessment, the next step that we're going to do, let's just lead into a basic intermediate basketball program. We're thinking off-court development. This is going to be off-season. We want to look at first, increase lower body strength. Second, just maintain or slightly increase that upper body strength so that they can bang inside the paint and they can handle the beating that they might get. 3, we want to make them as explosive as possible. And we're going to sprinkle in some interval options for their cardio, for their conditioning, without beating down their knees, without hurting their ankles, without beating down their lower back. And then 4, we want to make sure that we're focusing on more acceleration work. Okay, so that's how that weekly split is laid out. we're going to start off with looking at lower body strength work. First, we want to make sure that we're warming up properly. Okay, so we're going to do PVC pipe walks. We're going to walk through, do some split squat rotations, make sure that their thoracic spine is very mobile. Then we're going to get into some trunk rolls and then some unilateral work to open up their posterior chain. And then we want some full range of motion work. Now, if we're training basketball players to improve their leg strength, I think there's a couple different options. One, I think they should all be doing some form of an Olympic weightlifting movement. That could be a hip snatch, that could be a 2-box power snatch, that could be a low hang snatch, it could be a high hang power snatch, it could be a power clean, a 2-box power clean, a 1-box power clean, a high hang power clean. That's fine. We want to get them as explosive as possible. Then when we're looking at their leg strength through actual strength work, okay, we can think about a box squat. These guys are taller, these women are taller. Let's just say they're doing a back squat to an 18-inch box, okay, or a front squat to an 18-inch box, or a single leg squat. And then we're gonna do some other exercises. You might even use here a trap bar deadlift, okay? But this is how a week would be laid out, or a day would be laid out specifically for a lower body strength day. You can actually take this program, you can implement this today, and this is actually what we have inside of our basketball training program in our strength training app, Peak Strength. If you guys are looking for a program, go to peakstrength.app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store, and make sure that you select that you want to train for basketball. You're going to have speed, you're going to have acceleration work in there. Now, let's get into what that day is going to look like for that upper body strength. Okay, and one of the big aspects when we're training basketball players for upper body strength work is that we know we're not trying to develop some offensive linemen. We need them to get some meat on their shoulders. We need to make sure though that when we're developing their upper body strength, that it's not impeding on their shot. That's the big concept here, okay? So let's keep going through that good consistent warm up, and then we can get into starting that workout with a hip power snatch. That's gonna help the athlete move fast, understand that shoulder co-contraction. Then we can do some easy dumbbell bench presses, some neutral grip pull-ups, and some more shoulder work here. These are all exercises that are going to be good at creating shoulder stability, at creating good elbow extension strength, and with the pull-ups, it's going to lead to better lat strength as well, and that's gonna help over a long term develop that basketball player to be a little bit more aggressive. So this is a good upper body strength day. Okay, this is how it's gonna be laid out. We wanna think about something explosive first, 2 strength movements, and then a little bit of a hypertrophy work, but make sure it's not impeding on the ability to improve your technical shot. Remember in basketball, okay, and in off-court development, we need to make sure that the basketball player is getting as explosive as possible, slowly packing on some muscle mass so that they can get faster, they can jump higher, they can jump longer, they can cut faster, and then obviously gradually increase their cardio. Now, we're gonna look at day 3, okay? So day 3 is gonna look like this. They're gonna come in, they're gonna do their warm up, okay? So they're gonna do the traditional garage strength warm up. We've got an entire video based on the best warm up for general aspects. Then they're gonna get into impulse day, and think about impulse work as moving weight fast. Okay, this is gonna be dynamic movement with weight. Okay, so we're gonna start off with that high hang power clean, moving rapidly. And the cool part here is that inside of Peak Strength, we've got the percentages, we have the rest time laid out for you so you can execute that as well as possible. The next thing you're gonna do, some type of single leg squat. Again, intensity is established here. This 92.5% would be of your best 7 rep. Okay, it's not based off your 1 rep, it's based off your 7 rep. And this is gonna tell you what you need to do. And we're gonna do that with some explosive work. So we're gonna do some contrast work here with some jump step ups. You can see the rest here on the side. Then you get into walking dumbbell lunges, some jump lunges, and some core work with a power off split squats. Now, after you finish that, you can have a choice of going out and running, let's say 5 sets of 800 meters. If you're a little bit heavier, a little bit bigger, I recommend saying, all right, well, let's get on an assault bike and do 5 sets at about 4 minutes on the assault bike, or 5 sets of 4 minutes on a rower. Okay, now you're going to increase your cardio without really beating up your ankle, your knees, your hips. Okay, that's a big concept with improving endurance, especially for bigger athletes, is that we can use cyclical base endurance work like an assault bike, like getting on the rower, and that's, or even a skier, and that's gonna pay off very large dividends. I love using the rower and the assault bike for that. Now, day 4, this is where we're gonna focus more on speed work. So we started the week off with some of that leg strength work. We're getting the upper body work. We have that impulse day. Now we have acceleration and speed day. So we wanna go through that proper warm up. We're gonna focus on ankle dribbles, some skips, and then some resisted sprints. If we want to improve acceleration very rapidly, one of the quickest things that we can do for off-court development is resisted sprints, hill sprints, using a 1080 motion, anything along those lines. That's going to lead to better performance and a higher rate of acceleration. And when that higher rate of acceleration is coupled with leg strength, now you're able to cut and decelerate even quicker. And then we're gonna finish that off even with some more technical focus on A skips and then even some pogo hops. So this is the end of that week with some acceleration work. If we have an athlete who comes in, and we have 2 options here on day 4, after we look at that assessment week, if we see that an individual is extremely fast, extremely explosive, but they're very small, we might use this hypertrophy work here. So we might do a full body hypertrophy day. If we see that that individual is very large, but they're slow, then we're gonna go back to the acceleration work. So that's where the assessment week comes into play, is it's gonna help us determine how we need to train these athletes as specifically as possible. So this is a great background introduction into off-court development for basketball. We've got to look at the assessment week. We've got to make sure that we're using the right tests. After we do the right tests, that's where we lead into the entire week split. So you see the entire week split here: lower body, upper body, impulse, speed work. And then after you have that split for the week, you mine into each specific day that we provide for you here inside of this entire video. Each workout was based in front of you. You can take that, you can go execute that today. And if you need help with your programming, head over to Peak Strength, that app, the Google Play Store or the Apple iOS Store. Get inside Peak Strength and start to focus on that long-term training. You're gonna execute that assessment week, and then you're gonna get into these specific workouts so that you can develop over a long period of time. Because remember, freaks, if you want to become a champion, you've always got to cultivate your power. Peace.